Hello friends, today I'm going to a recap of a movie called Marie Antoinette. Austria, 1768. Empress Maria Theresa of Austria decides to strengthen relations with France. To do this, she sends to the royal family her youngest daughter, Marie Antoinette, a 14-year-old girl who spends all her time with her friends and a pug. Not daring to cross her mother, the girl agrees to become the wife of the heir to the French throne. The mother is convinced that this marriage will strengthen the alliance between their powers and improve the economic situation of the country. A few days later, the carriage arrives at the border between Austria and France. Having organized a symbolic tent, the royal servants perform the ceremony. Entering the tent from the side of her country, the girl must leave everything that reminds her of her homeland. Saying goodbye to her friends, leaving her dog, personal belongings, and clothes, Marie Antoinette changes into traditional French attire. Coming out of the tent on the French side, the girl receives the status of Dauphine, Marie Antoinette. Soon the daughter of the Austrian empress arrives at the resting place of Louis XV and gets acquainted with the king. Here she also meets her future husband for the first time. The attention of dukes and countesses is riveted to the charming girl. Some consider her an Austrian spy, while others marvel at the beauty of Marie Antoinette. Arriving at Versailles, the girl becomes the central figure of the royal court. The nobles do not take their eyes off her, discussing her appearance, breasts, and manners. A couple of days later, there is a solemn ceremony, during which Mary becomes the wife of Louis XVI. Having exchanged rings and legalized the relationship, the couple dances the first wedding dance. In the evening, they are put to bed and the curtains are closed so that the newlyweds can spend their first night together. In the morning, the grandson shares his impressions with his grandfather, telling him that nothing happened during the night. As Maria looks around the house in which she is to live, she feels uncomfortable as she is constantly surrounded by servants who do not allow her to be alone. Being under the care of noble ladies, the girl cannot do anything on her own. She is woken up in the morning, dressed according to her status, and accompanied to breakfast. During the meal, Mary tries to find a common language with her husband and expresses sincere delight about his hobby, making keys and locks. Shy Louis is afraid to approach his wife and ignores her, constantly leaving for hunting. During gala dinners, the girl realizes that the French court is swarming with rumors. Most often discuss the favorite of the king, Madame du Barry. The woman worked for a long time in a brothel and had no right to be at court, but the king granted her the title of countess. Other nobles are dissatisfied with such manipulations and considered Louis' actions immoral. No less popular person for discussion is Mary herself, who has no intimacy with her husband, as a result of which she cannot give birth to an heir to the throne. Every day the girl's position in society worsens. Someone calls her infertile, others frigid. Weeping from insults, she tries to seduce her husband, every night inventing new ways to hint at intimacy. The shy Dauphin cannot touch his spouse and ignores her. Meeting with Ambassador Mercy, Maria learns that her mother is worried about the lack of grandchildren. She believes that this negatively affects relations between Austria and France, so Maria must use feminine tricks to attract the prince to bed. The King of France notices that the girl ignores his favorite, and Ambassador Mercy asks Maria to be more prudent, as ignoring Madame du Barry can spoil relations with Louis XV. Giving in to entreaties, the girl tries to talk to du Barry, but is limited to a couple of phrases and leaves. Seeing the king's approving gesture and smile, she gradually gets used to life at the royal court. She no longer pesters her husband, finding comfort in eating sweets. One day, Louis and his brother go on another hunting trip. His wife expresses her displeasure, feeling insulted because she wants to have a child before her sister-in-law, Marie Josephine, does. Before leaving, her spouse promises that he will take care of it on his return. The ambassador is concerned and goes to meet the king. Louis sees no reason to worry, as he does not intend to break the alliance between their countries. Having learned that his grandson has no children for a long time, the king orders a doctor to examine Louis and his wife. Once again receiving news from her mother, Mary learns that all her sisters have managed to give birth to worthy heirs, and only she is unable to please the empress. Feeling the pressure, she tries to establish relations with her husband, but they do not succeed. Soon the situation worsens as Maria Josephine gives birth to a son. Tired of suffering and disappointment, Maria decides to start life with a clean slate. Buying luxurious dresses, shoes, cosmetics, and alcohol, she is drawn into a bohemian life. The girl gambles and loses large sums of money without worrying about the consequences. Trying to find a new way of entertainment, she sneaks into a masquerade ball and gets acquainted with a military man, Count Furzin, a womanizer who can find an approach to a girl to win her over. Remembering her husband, Maria runs away and meets the Dawn with friends. Upon returning home, the Dauphin learns that the king has fallen ill with smallpox, and his condition is deteriorating sharply. Learning of her lover's imminent demise, Dubarry collects all the jewelry given by the king and escapes. Soon, Louis XV passes away, and Mary, leading a hedonistic lifestyle, becomes queen. Her husband is young, foolish, and knows nothing about politics and the economy of the state. Listening to his advisors, he decides to support the American Revolution to demonstrate his power to Britain. Soon, France's debts increase, and the economic situation deteriorates sharply. Despite this, Louis continues to sponsor America, trying to convince everyone of his strength and power. Soon, Maria celebrates her 18th birthday. The girl throws a loud party where she spends a lot of money without worrying about the crisis, poverty, and the oppressed state of the citizens. Joseph II, Mary's own brother, arrives at Versailles, determined to visit his sister. Passing on the words of his mother, the man asks the girl to be more prudent, to change the circle of socializing, away from alcohol and gambling. Having met with the king in the zoo, the emperor tries to understand what prevents the couple from having children. Having learned the subtleties of their private life, he explains to Louis how to engage in intimacy, using the example of locks and keys. Having learned the basics, the king heads to the bedroom and makes love to his wife for the first time. 9 months later, the queen gives birth to a baby girl and names her after her mother, Maria Theresa. The royal nobles attend the birth, surrounding the girl as they want to see the king's heir. Upon learning that it is a daughter, they do not celebrate the birth of the child. Mary wants to feed the girl herself, but according to royal traditions, she is not supposed to do this. A happy father and husband gives his beloved a country palace. Avoiding alcohol and gambling, the queen moves out of town and devotes all her time to her daughter. Sometime later, Louis comes to the country house and invites his wife to Versailles, as soon there will be a ball dedicated to soldiers. Returning home, the girl welcomes the dukes and counts of different countries. In one of the men, she recognizes Furzin and does not take her eyes off him. The nobility notices this, but considers the queen decent enough not to pull up her skirt in front of this womanizer. In the evening, Mary gives in to temptation and gives herself to the count. The couple feels a mutual sympathy, and they begin an affair. However, Furzin must leave because of his service and leaves the queen. The queen's daughter grows up and becomes a real princess. Walking in the courtyard, Mary communicates with her counselor, Ambassador Mercy. He is concerned about the foreign policy of the king and asks the girl to influence her husband. Their conversation is interrupted by a girl who informs that the Austrian empress has passed away. Another year passes, and the queen gives birth to a boy, the Dauphin of France, Louis Joseph. Several years passed. The policy of Louis XVI led France to an economic crisis. People dissatisfied with the king's rule have taken the Bastille and are not going to stop there. Soon they will start marching towards Versailles, and the royal family must flee. The nobles, fearing reprisals, leave France. Louis is not going to flee. Mary supports her husband's decision. A couple of days later, hundreds of hungry and angry people who organized the French Revolution reach Versailles. They storm the king's house, throwing stones at the windows. Mary goes out on the second-floor balcony and bows to the people. For a few moments, the crowd of people with torches, axes, and pitchforks falls silent, but then continues the assault. Realizing that the impoverished French will not spare the infantile king, incapable of ruling the state, in the morning the royal family leaves the palace forever, saying goodbye to their ancestral home. In the final frame, we see the destroyed bedroom of the king. And that's the end of it.